Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Bear Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, these leaks keep coming. Yeah, I think that there is a chance, maybe the first time ever, that the entire set might be leaked before spoiler season actually starts on the 21st. It's going to be a race against time, apparently. We shall see. If you know the actual count right now of the cards that have been leaked versus the number that are in the set, let me know where we're at, because I feel like we have to be around at like 50% or so. It's absolutely crazy. Speaking of crazy, there are some absolutely crazy spoilers in this one. I just said spoilers. Leaks. Again, these cards have not been confirmed by WotC. Make sure you take all this with a grain of salt. Now, with that said, let's jump to the crazy cards. So first up, Flare of Fortitude. Now, I believe that this is the final of the 5 flares. I made a mistake a while back because I think we had the blue, red, and black ones leaked. And then I was like, well, we're just waiting on the white one and then the green one. And then I got a lot of comments that were like, the green one was actually officially spoiled as one of the first spoiled cards. It's like that free cultivator or whatever. And I was like, oh, my bad. Okay, yeah, so this potentially would be the last out of the cycle, Flare of Fortitude. Another quick note, really quick. These are all custom versions of the cards. I'm going to have the actual grainy images of the cards at the end of the episode, okay, just to show that they're real, that those pictures are real, essentially. I made custom versions of them because it's easier to discuss and more enjoyable to discuss for many when they're actually going to see a non-grainy, like, taken from, like, the side, like while someone's running 50 miles per hour, and then their hair was on fire at the same time. I don't know why these images are so weird. Anyways, instant for 2 white. You may sacrifice a non-token white creature rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain Hexproof and Indestructible. Okay, to be honest, when I was thinking about, okay, what can the white one be? When we saw all the other ones, essentially, in the cycle, I mean, again, leaks, and then also the actual spoiler one, I was like, okay, this does this, like blue counters a spell, black sacrifice a creature, red copy a spell, and green's like cultivate. And I was like, okay, it's probably going to be something along the lines of like indestructible, kind of like, I can't remember what the free one, like if your commander's in play, you can cast it for free. I can't remember what that one's called, but that one's like gives indestructible, right? I did not expect this level, essentially, of, oh, okay, indestructible, which would already see play. This would already see play if you could freely just sacrifice one creature. Again, it is non-token, so I think that is a saving grace of these cards, that it's not just any creature, because obviously tokens. Yeah, if you're in white, yeah, you can make it a ton of tokens, you can sacrifice them easily. Has to be specifically a white creature, so there is that restriction to it, which is nice. That being said, I'm not really a fan of free spells to cast, but that's just me. And I didn't expect this to be like, okay, not just indestructible and not just for your creatures, but indestructible and hexproof for every single one of your permanents. So a free heroic intervention, but that's not enough, apparently, because on top of that, we need your life total can't change as well. So gross. So yeah, that's very, very powerful. This is kind of like, I'm peacing out right now, like whatever you're doing, and a massive fireball spell, whatever, I don't care. Not gonna hurt me or, destroy my things. Oh yeah, you're swinging at me with your army or whatever, and you think you've got me. No, you don't. By the way, my army's indestructible now and has hexproof, so you can't target them, and I'm going to block a lot. So it's a very interesting, very big kind of gotcha card. Not that, like, all the other ones aren't. I mean, I guess the Cultivate one really isn't, like, a gotcha card for the most part, but, like, it is a really big game-changing play if this one is real. Being able to, again, you're tapped out, your opponents think that you're tapped out, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to cast the Wrath of God because you've got way too many creatures over there, and you're like, speaking of too many creatures, I sacrifice one of my creatures, and all of a sudden, I'm fine. I am completely fine. I'm fine personally. I can't, lose life. My life total can't change. I guess you can't gain life either, but anyways. And then also, yeah, my permanents are hexproof and indestructible. So it's a crazy good, again, like Heroic Intervention meets like, the Fairy's Protection kind of thing-ish. I mean, 4 mana is a decent amount to pay for a spell at instant speed, but still, that's well worth it already. And then also, yeah, you can just freely pay this, by sacrificing a creature. A crazy good card if this one ends up being real. Moving on. Marionette Apprentice. Where have we heard of you before? A 1/2 Human Artificer for 1 and a black. Fabricate 1. Whenever another creature artifact you control is graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. This is interesting because I expected this just to be Marionette Master, which is the card this is obviously based off of. I expected this to be like a 1/3 version of Marionette Master, which it started off that way, right? You fabricate 1. Okay, so yeah, there's the 1 out of 3. Marionette Master has fabricate 3. And then I thought it was going to be like based on this power. No. Okay, they didn't go in that direction. They went in basically like a better Zulaport Cutthroat, essentially, right? Like this counts any of your creatures or artifacts hitting the graveyard. Like any of your artifacts or creatures you control hitting the graveyard. I guess another. It doesn't count this one, but still. Like, it doesn't specify, again, like, non-token, of course. So, yeah, if you've got token creatures, great. Sacrifice them with the Aristocrat-style deck. Drain your opponents in no time. But also, of course, artifacts, too, which includes, yes, treasures, which are very abundant these days, and you can get a lot of them. So, again, with Marionette Master, though, ironically, you always, basically, for the most part, are going to be picking Fabricate, as in get the counters on Marionette Master, because you want that power to be bigger. With this one, ironically, you're going to be like, I don't really care if this is a 2/3, so I'm going to get an artifact creature that I can then sacrifice at some point or whatever. So there you go. So yeah, this one can definitely see play in artifact synergistic decks, can see play in, Aristocrats decks most definitely. I mean, at the very least, this is a 2 mana, 2 creatures for, 2 mana, 2 bodies, 2 creatures, 2 mana, and also, of course, like Zulaport Cutthroat, draining, which also includes artifacts. So yeah, artifact synergies, sacrifice synergies, Aristocrat synergies. It's a very, very, very good card, and I think it's going to see a lot of play. Next up, Tune the Narrative. An instant for a single blue mana, draw a card, you get 2 energy counters. So if you got like a Spell Slinger deck where you just like throw in kind of like every single, 1 mana cantrip that you can, already a card to consider for that, because it's, again, 1 mana, instant speed, draw a card. So it's just already good there. That being said, if you're not playing in an energy deck, I don't think you're using this because, yeah, I mean, if you don't just care about just having a 1 mana cantrip, then getting energy that you can't use, that doesn't matter at all, obviously. So yeah, they are getting a lot more energy synergies going on right now, it seems like, in this set. So energy is getting more support, which is great for the energy commanders. That looks like we're getting. Potentially your energy commander at least. I think there's at least one. I think there was also one like in the Fallout thing too. But anyways, more support for energy is a good thing, I believe. Yeah, I mean, this is just a solid low-the-ground energy spell, essentially. But if not, yeah, Spell Slinger. And if not, don't use it. Moving on. We've got Spy Master's Vault, a land. When it enters battlefield, it enters tapped, unless you control a swamp. So that's nice if you have a swamp deck. A swamp deck. A mono black deck. This one to that field untapped basically all the time, as long as you have the right amount of basic lands, essentially, right? Stop cutting all your basics for non-basics, okay? Basics are amazing. I love them. Tap for a black, pay a black, tap. Target creature control connives X for X the number of creatures that died this turn, which means draw X cards, then discard X cards, put a counter on that creature for each non-land card discard this way. That is a lot of value to be had. So here's the thing. Even if this enters the battlefield tap, let's say that you are playing 3-4 color. I mean, you only want to... it does tap for a black still. You don't want to go too crazy on non-basics, right, when you're up to 4 or 5 color, depending on your deck, all right, for the most time. And again, with those scenarios, you probably don't have a swamp in play that's coming, so this isn't coming to play untapped, I guess, unless you have a ton of the Tri-lands or whatever. Anyways, even if this comes into play tapped, that's still a massive effect, and you're like, yeah, I'll probably be okay with doing that, because this gives you just an absurd amount of card selection, like conniving X based on the number of creatures that died this turn. That's huge. This doesn't say activate only at sorcery speed. And my apologies if I typed anything wrong on these. Again, make sure you check the cards out at the end of the episode. But I believe I typed this out correctly, where it doesn't say activate on sorcery speed. So if someone else casts a Wrath, and you have, let's say, a creature that's indestructible or can survive it or whatnot, or you can blink 1, then yeah, you're going to say, oh, okay, or you made a token or whatever it is. You're like, oh, okay, cool. A lot of creatures died this turn. I'll, connive 20, whatever it is. And that creature can be absolutely massive. That just seems really, really good. Okay, unless I'm missing something, but that seems really, really good. And again, it doesn't say non-token either. But yeah, at the very least, Aristocrat-style decks are going to love this card because you just sacrifice a ton of creatures on your own turn or your opponent's turn or whatever it is for value, and then you're like, oh, okay, cool. All right, dig down into my deck a ton, get a lot of value out of it. Again, it's not card advantage, but it is card selection. Technically card advantage if you have things like Teferi's Aegis Insight or whatever, things that can double up your card draw, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it's a very solid land that, again, doesn't really take up a spot in your deck and even can come into play untapped in the right scenario. So yeah, a very good card. Next up, Johnny Fells the Godsire. It's a saga. as it enters the battlefield, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. And you sacrifice level 3. Obviously, like in other sagas. The first one is exile target creature opponent controls with power 3 or greater. The second one is creating 2/1 white cat warrior creature token. Then put a vigilance counter on a creature you control. And the third is target creature control against double strike until left turn. I mean, this is okay for 5 mana. Like, if you have a saga deck, yeah, consider it. Other than that, maybe a cat deck or a warrior deck that really cares about vigilance a ton. Yeah, I mean, the last one just like 1 creature double strike. It's not that great of a card compared to all the other ones we've seen so far. Not that great, but if you got a saga deck, yeah, consider it. Moving on. Wither and Bloom, an instant for 1 and a black. Target creature gets -3/-3 until end of turn. Pay 1 and a black. Exile it from your graveyard. Put a counter on target creature control. Activate on sorcery. I mean, this seems more like a limited card to me personally, but like I guess if you have like a +1/+1 counters synergy deck and you just care about getting like a counter on something, like if you have like a lot of proliferate effects, you just kind of need something to go. You can utilize this, I guess, like a low to the ground, like removal spell in a way. I mean, you're going to take out very small to mid-sized creatures, low mid-sized creatures. So don't really count on it too much, I guess. But it seems like a limited card to me. Next up, Aether Spike. Instant for 1 and a blue. Counter target spell. Choose target spell, sorry. You get 2 energy counters. If it just counter target spell for 1 and a blue, like, sign me up for that. This is better than negate. This is better than counter spell. Wow, amazing. It's not quite there. Choose target spell. You get 2 energy counters. You may then pay an amount of energy. Counter that spell's controller pays 1 for each energy paid this way. If you have an energy deck, great. If you don't, this is terrible. This is like, okay. I mean, it's not terrible. There's other cards out there that are like, I mean, Mana Leak is 3, right? So this is like slightly worse than Mana Leak at a baseline. Potentially better than Mana Leak if you've got an energy deck, obviously. Mana Leak is, cost 2. Counter unless they pay 3. So, yeah, 2 is obviously less than 3. But they can usually pay that too, maybe? I don't know. Again, if you don't have an energy deck, just don't consider it really. But if you do, yeah, it can be a really good counter spell for you. It can be like very flexible with your energy for it. Next up, Thraben Charm, an instant for 1 and a white. Choose 1. It deals damage equal to twice the number of creatures you control to target creature. That's interesting that white is dealing damage based on creatures. Destroy target enchantment or exile any of target player's graveyard. So, creature removal, destroy an enchantment, or get rid of graveyards. These are all really good options. I mean, I guess the first one is dependent on you having creatures in play. It is twice the number of creatures you have. So, like, if you just have, like, 3 creatures in play, they'll pretty much get rid of the vast majority of creatures out there, I would say. Even just 2 maybe for, like, mid-sized creatures, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, you are playing white. So, typically, in a white deck, you usually have a go-wide strategy-ish. Not always, but ish. So, if you have a go-wide strategy, this could be a good removal for that. I mean, destroy enchantment, destroy a creature, or exile graveyard. That's pretty good. It's flexible. It's instant speed. It's interesting to see where this one's going to end up. Again, I think what tips the scales, obviously, is, again, if you have a go-wide strategy, definitely consider it. If you don't, I wouldn't count on that nearly as much to be like, okay, you can, like, get rid of someone's enchantment or get rid of graveyards, and that might not be as relevant depending on the situation. But still, graveyard removal is huge with the right group. When you're playing against the right kinds of decks. Moving on, Primal Prayers, an enchantment for 4 mana in green. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. You may cast creature spells with mana value 3 or less by paying energy rather than paying their mana cost. If you cast a spell this way, you may cast it as though it flash. Huh. This goes infinite. I just thought about this one. There's that, gosh, what is that? There's like an elephant, right? There's an elephant. Costs a single green mana, and it bounces back to your hand. If you didn't have the energy to pay for it, and it gives you like an energy each time, and I think you need like 3. You need 3 energy to do so. So like as long as you can get rid of the energy that you have with this, couldn't you just, you could just pay the elephant and then just do the elephant again and again from 1 mana each time? I think you could. Let me know in the comments below. Rampage, I can't remember the elephant's name. It's from like, I'm messing up on this a lot. My apologies. But yeah, there is an elephant that I think is a 3/3 for a single green mana. And like, yeah, when it ETBs, you have to pay an energy. And if not, it bounces back to your hand. Or 3 energy. If not, you bounce back to your hand, you get an energy. So this would be a way to just infinitely cast that. So you can with like a Warstorm Surge, Impact Tremors, those kind of things as well. I'm sure there's other infinite combos with this as well. This seems, again, specific, but good. Because obviously in an energy deck, it's like, okay, if I stay low to the ground, I can play a lot of creature spells for free. And there's even some creatures out there that like give you energy when they ETB as well, so keep that in mind. Or proliferate effects can be great with this as well. There's definitely some infinite combinations that can work with this, but again, it's pretty specific. You can't just like chuck this in any deck and be like, ha ha ha, I will play my creature spells with my 2 energy that I don't plan on getting more of. So I guess if you have a proliferate deck, you can consider that outside of energy. If you have a proliferate deck, you can definitely consider it because you can definitely build more energy counters. Just make sure you keep at least one of these and then keep proliferating and get more and more energy counters. But if you have no energy counters or like no, proliferate, don't use this. It's a really cool card though. Yeah, energy decks absolutely love it. And again, you may guess those that flash too is nice too. But yeah, let me know what that elephant's name is. It's escaping me. Anyways, moving on. Tempest Harvester, a 2/1 Merfolk Wizard. 2 very relevant creature types. For 1 blue, enters the battlefield to get 2 energy. Tap, pay an energy, draw a card, discard a card. Is Merfolk Looter really just that good that you need to make a strictly worse Merfolk Looter? I mean, it's good, right? I like Merfolk Looter, but like, if you're not an energy deck or a deck that proliferates, like this can like loot twice. And do you care? I think Merfolk Looter's a 1/1. Is that why? Like there's the difference. So this is a 2/1. Is it that big of a difference to make this that much worse? I don't know. Anyways, limited card most likely, or energy deck. Next up, Disruptor Flute. Oh no, the flute! Ah! I mean, I guess there's like, scarier things in Magic that are like, oh, Black Lotus is a flower. Like, oh, it's a flower, run away! Crazy. Flute. Artifact for 2. Flash. Enters the battlefield, choose a card name. So the chosen name costs 3 more to cast. Activate abilities and sources with the chosen name of source of the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. I mean, this is kind of like one of those cards that, again, is more in other formats, I would assume, mostly, or in Commander, more like stacks, hate bear type decks, essentially. Like, sure, I mean, you could just include this in any deck if you really want to, but like, what you're going to be naming is mostly someone's commander, which is effective, but it's going to irk that person a lot, and they're probably going to come after you by making their commander cost 3 more to cast, and also taking away all the active abilities. So there you go. Yeah, I'd say this is more of a fringe card, one for like hate bear type strategies. Next up, Sowing Mycospawn. A 3/3 Eldrazi fungus with Devoid. Devoid. It's like, I'm green, but not green. Kicker for 1 in a colorless. And my apologies, the frame should look a little bit different then because of the Devoid. My apologies on that. For 3 in a green. Kicker for 1 in a colorless. When you cast a spell, search your life for a land card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle. When you cast a spell, if it was kicked, exile target land. Land removal. Yeah, I mean, it's only on cast for the ETB, so you can't even use and abuse it when it comes to like blinking it, let's say, like versus like a Farhaven elf. And when it comes to like getting rid of a land, I don't think too many decks out there really care too much about that. I mean, I guess if you have like Gaia's Cradle in your meta, you might care about that. Or if you're playing against like my Garth deck, which likes to like suit up an indestructible land and have it tap for like 10, then yeah, that would be very devastating if that happened to me. But for the most part, I guess if you're an Eldrazi deck, you can consider it. Or a fungus deck, maybe. Anyways, moving on. This one, actually, Wizards did throw a spoiler out today. Hey, there you go, Wizards. Good job. You're keeping up with all the leaks. This one, I don't believe, has been leaked yet. Let me know if I'm wrong on this one, though. 8 for Eldrazi for 8 mana and colorless. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control. Hexproof from each color. Annihilator 2. So again, Wizards kind of eliminated just straight up Hexproof for the most part. It's more situational Hexproof or specific Hexproof. It's like situational being like, okay, like on your turn, like the turn you cast it gets hexproof or whatever it is. This one's like hexproof from each color. So specifically from each color, I mean, that applies to a ton of things. The vast majority of removal is at least 1 color. I mean, outside of just colors removal, obviously, so, or artifacts. But yeah, having hexproof from all those, that applies to a lot of things. And being Annihilator 2, that's pretty spicy. The thing with this one compared to like Ulamog's Crusher, though, is that this one only has 4 toughness. So like Ulamog's Crusher, I think is also 8. Let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong on that one. 8 for an 8/8 with Annihilator 2. That one doesn't gain you life. It doesn't have hexproof, but obviously it can survive in combat easier being an 8/8 versus an 8/4. Although I think it's got to attack each combat if able, so you don't have a choice, but still you're fine. Yeah, I mean, if you're an Eldrazi deck, consider it. If you're in a colorless artifacts deck as well, also consider it because it can gain you a lot of life and also be a decent threat and also be some removal too. But it's an interesting card. Finally, this one is interesting, gross, disgusting. Imskir Iron-Eater, a 5/5 demon for 6 black and a red, so 8 mana in total, but you're never going to pay that. Affinity for artifacts. We don't see, let me know in the comments below. I think other than like the Urza Precon Commander, there's so many Urzas, but nowadays, the Urza Precon Commander that's an Esper, I can't think of any other commander out there. There's probably some other out there, right? That has affinity for artifacts, because cost reduction on a commander is crazy good, because not only can you get this out a lot quicker, again, it costs 8, but basically it's going to cost 2 for you very quickly, very easily, very effectively. But also commander tax. You can get around commander tax by just getting more artifacts in play to reduce that. So this can be used and abused quite easily. Okay, so 5/5 Demon, they're going to be able to get up for 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards and you lose X life, for X is the number of half the number of artifacts you control, rounded down. That's already ridiculous. But then also pay 3 in red, sacrifice an artifact. It deals damage equal to sacrifice artifacts made of value to any target. Sorry, Bosch Iron Golem, you've been replaced and then some. So Bosch Iron Golem, I believe, is, well, it's a colorless commander, but it's in red because it's color identity because of that activate ability, which is similar, if not the same. But yeah, this is just basically like, hey, Bosch, did Bosch cost like 8, 7, 8, whatever it was? This costs 2, basically. Let's just say 2 most of the time, if not all the time. In ETBs, 1 life for 1 card is a deal I'll make any day in Commander. Any day. Does not matter. Does not, I mean, I guess if I'm at like 2 life and I'm like, draw 2, lose 2? Sure, why not? Go on your own terms. Basically, though, yeah, let's say you have, again, 6 artifacts in play so that you can actually cast this for 2 the first time. So you play this, it ETBs, and against an ETB, not a cast trigger, so keep that in mind. ETBs, you draw 3, lose 3? Pretty fantastic right there. Yeah, that's amazing already. On top of that, I mean, again, you can sacrifice artifacts to dish out damage. Yeah, you're probably going to have ways to, like, sacrifice this to, like, maybe feign death it. Like, you know, cards that can bring it back right away when it does die, so you can get the ETB again and again and again. But also, like, you might just sacrifice this and be like, go back to the command zone. Okay, I'll replay you for 2. Yeah, this is a really, really good commander. And, of course, you are in black, so there's plenty of ways to actually mess with life totals, gain a lot of life very quickly. I mean, like Gary and that kind of stuff as well. But, yeah, going artifact heavy with this. And keep in mind, it's not like affinity for, like, non-token artifacts. No. It's any artifact, meaning that, yeah, you get access to, of course, like, oh, I made a bunch of servos. I made a bunch of thopters. And I made a bunch of treasures. Treasures is getting an absurd amount of support. Now it is, I believe, the 3rd most played theme according to HREC. And yeah, treasures can be kind of broken, but you don't actually need to sacrifice them with this commander because they just each count for 1 mana for this commander without sacrificing them, so there you go. So yeah, go wide with a bunch of artifacts, play this commander, draw cards, lose some life, who cares? Do it again, and again, and again. Sacrifice artifacts, ping your opponents for a lot of damage, gain. I mean, yeah, you can really take advantage of that. So give this lifelink to gain life back. Actually, if you just give this lifelink, you throw like a Lox and Warhammer on this thing, or whatever. What's the Mask of Grizzlebrand? That one too. That one's really good because flying lifelink. You can swing through from gain some life too. That's nice. But yeah, being able to sacrifice artifacts, it's Imskir that's actually dealing the damage. So yeah, you sacrifice an artifact that say costs 7. Cool, I hit you for 7. All right, awesome. That just like made up for all that life I just lost to all those cards. Great. So, pretty powerful. I'm sure there's some broken combos that you can do this as well because, again, cost reduction on a commander is pretty gross. But yeah, we're going to be talking about a quick take on this commander. I'm going to talk about cards that work well with it, that are within my budget buys, above my budget, price your picks, which are above $1. That being said, all these cards will be in a card list link in the description below. But please, again, take everything I've said on this episode with a grain of salt. Again, all these cards, except for the one I just talked about, that Eldrazi that Wizard spoiled, all of these are actually, again, leaks, which have not been officially confirmed, nor will Wizards actually probably confirm them until the actual set comes out, okay? So, if you really want to build around this right now, ask your playgroup, ask your friends ahead of time, and be like, hey, are you okay if I play with this? I'll proxy it, and even if it's not real, are you still okay if I still play with that? Cool, then maybe pick up those cards. If not, though, yeah, wait until this is actually confirmed to be real, and then pick up those cards. Regardless, you can, like, bookmark that link or whatnot. But now, with all that said, let's jump into those budget buys, price your picks, and then afterwards, make sure you stay tuned to look through those images of the cards so you can see that I didn't just make all these up, okay? So first up, let's talk about the budget buys. Again, cards are within my budget, less than $1. First up, Curse of Opulence, one that was nowhere near my budget until it got reprinted recently. This thing was like $5 or so at one point. An uncommon, but I mean, it's like Was this in a commander set, but it was uncommon? Like, that doesn't really matter if it's uncommon. I can't remember. Anyways, or a curse for a single red mana enchant player. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking the player does the same. So a gold token's like a treasure, but better because you don't have to tap and sacrifice it to actually get the mana. That being said, it basically works the same way with this kind of commander for the most part, when it comes to these things, because you're just keeping those in play. You're probably not utilizing them nearly as much as you would in other decks. You can to like get other things out, obviously, but when it comes to like just building up a glut of artifacts in play, you want to keep a lot in play so you can keep your commander's cost down to just 2, so you can keep replaying your commander whenever you need to, essentially. Keep in mind, this does actually benefit your opponents, right? So, like, again, if you enchant this on another opponent, that player's got a big target on their back, which is lovely. Everyone's like, sorry, Frank, I gotta get that gold, so I'm gonna be attacking you. And Frank's like, why? It's not nice. That's how Frank talks. But yes, anyways, being able to attack that player, you're encouraging them to do so. That being said, you are giving them extra resources. When they do attack Frank, they get an extra gold, so they get extra mana for themselves. That being said, you do too. So yeah, there was a risk reward to this, but it's not negligible, but it's worth it. It's very much worth it. Next up, what with no risk? Loyal Apprentice. A 2-1 human artificer with haste at the beginning of combat of your turn. If you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless stopped artifact token with flying. The token gains haste all of turn. Yeah, this is very good. The difference between this and other ones I'm bringing up is going to be that, like, this doesn't help you get your commander up the first time. That being said, it's not going to be that difficult to do so, but it helps you build it up again with that lieutenant. After your commander is out, you start getting a Thopter each and every single turn, which can really help you out. It's a very good card in that way, but it won't help you the first time. Next up, Storn Kiln Artist, which I still can't believe is budget friendly. My goodness. 2/2 Dwarf Shaman. It gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Again, don't know why that was added to this card, but it was. Just recently saw someone take out someone else with a Storm Kiln Artist for a lot of damage. Yeah, that happens. But still. This in this deck is going to be pretty huge. That being said, the part that matters is Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an sorcery spell, create treasure tokens. So essentially, every single time you cast an sorcery spell, you are adding to your count. Again, let's say you don't even use your treasures ever for mana. You just don't do it because you're just building up your treasure amount. Every single time you cast instants and sorceries, you subtract 1 from the cost of your commander or the future cost of your commander. Again, you're like, oh, okay, I just cast 2 spells. All right, got rid of the commander tax for my commander next time it comes out. Cool, good for me. And of course, if you need to use treasures, use them. Mirrorworks. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under control, you may pay 2. If you do, create tokens copy of that artifact. Again, you're going to be running a lot of artifacts in this deck as well, including, non-token ones, essentially. So, I mean, in the deck, you can't really run the tokens, things that make tokens. You know what I mean? That being said, let's say you play, again, even just a mana rock. Cool. I pay an extra 2. I create a copy of that. I ramped a little bit. Great. But I also reduce the cost of my commander further. So essentially, every single artifact now becomes 2 artifacts for you. Then we've got Mirror Battlesphere. Obviously, even just with this one, right? Very popular commander card for a reason. Enters the battlefield, you get 4 1/1 Mirror. This one card nearly reduces down all of your commander's cost, essentially, right? That first time. Down to just 3 mana, essentially, right? If you don't have any other artifacts in play, you play this. This is basically 5 artifacts in total. So you just reduce your commander's cost down by 5 just by having this. Again, if you just actually pay an extra 2 with Mirrorworks with that in play, then cool. You just have 10 artifacts in play now, too. So congratulations. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go really quickly and make a bunch of artifacts. Again, whether it's like over time with some of the effects we talked about or like one-off effects. Of course, just like some of the cards these days, like Big Score, this is already just good in your deck. Just cost cast a spell, discard a card, draw 2, create 2 treasures. It's great ramp for you early, but also this is like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I get card advantage with this at instant speed. Lovely. Get rid of a dead card, replace it with 2 good cards. And also, 2 cost, reduction for my commander as well, or just some ramp if I need it. Brass's Bounty. Gross. Lovely. For each land you control, create treasure token. Again, Rakdos is not known for ramping with lands. Nothing is except for, with green, essentially, really. That being said, again, whatever lands you do have in play, great. You get a treasure for each of them, and now all of a sudden your commander's cost is down to basically nothing. And also just like a mass ritual effect when you need it like that. Spine of Ishsa. You're going to want to consider, again, you can go through winning in a bunch of different ways with this kind of commander. You could just, do, just general artifact synergies, essentially, like artifacts damaging whenever they enter the battlefield or leave the battlefield or those kind of things as well, or, big, scary artifacts that can, hit hard. That being said, you can also, obviously with your commander, start flinging artifacts at your opponent's faces, and this is a good one to do. So Artifact for 7, Enters the battlefield to destroy target permanent. That's lovely. It has 7 mana value, so fling 7 damage to an opponent. Great. On top of that, though, whenever it's put in a grave for the battlefield, you bring it back to your hand. So obviously there are certain synergies that you can play with certain cards. They're like, okay, artifacts that actually want to be sacrificed, ones that maybe have a high converted mana cost. You can obviously utilize other cards out there that actually can reduce the cost of artifacts as well, so make sure you're keeping that in mind. But you have a lot of potential with things like this. Next up, though, Soul Conduit. Another way to go about winning, and probably the direction that I would go when it comes to like my first choice is going to be Life Swap. Artifact for 6, pay 6, tap. 2 target players exchange life totals. Basically, you know, you were the one who was getting all the benefits out of this commander, right? You're like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm going down in life. All right, I drew a bunch of cards. All right, sacrifice my commander, replay it for just 2 mana, gain a bunch more cards, lose some life. Who cares about life? And then eventually like, I'm down to 5 life. I don't like that. All right, Frank's like, what? Give me your 40 life. Why? And then they're down to 5, and then you take them down. So yeah, that is definitely a way you can go about this because, again, yes, you're going to be dropping in life, but it's not that scary in Commander to drop in life, right? You got 40 life to start off with. Who cares if you lose some? And then when you get down low, just swap life totals and be like, that's mine. Obviously, Profane Transfusion works as well. Other types of life swap out there. Sorcery for 9 mana in total, but again, you're incentivized to make a bunch of treasures with this kind of commander. If you need to use them, you can use them. If you really need to with this kind of a card. 2 target players exchange life totals. You create an XX that is absolutely massive based on the difference in life totals, essentially. So, yeah, again, unfortunate player over there that's at 40. You're like, I'd like that life total. You get my 5 life total or 1 life total, whatever it is at this point. And then I get a giant creature as well. So, yeah, a lot of exciting things you can do. A lot of different strategies you can do. And once you get them low again, just sacrifice like an artifact that costs that much and just take them out. So that's another way to do it. Next up, self-explanatory in the pricier picks with this one. Dockside Extortionist, $80. Yeah, if you got the budget for it, if you already have it, it's good when you need a bunch of artifacts because what it does is it makes a bunch of artifacts, which are treasures. It's a very broken, busted card that maybe should have been banned according to many out there. Anyways, 1/2 Goblin Pirate enters the battlefield. Create extra tokens for X the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. So their artifacts and enchantments basically become yours when it comes to the number of artifacts you are making. And you're like, okay, cool. My commander's cost is going to be reduced by, not infinity, but like an absurd amount. Again, like 20. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I could replay my commander 5 times on this turn. Great. Probably even more than that, really, if you really wanted to. Next up, speaking of which, Genesis Chamber. This one's very good. I wish Wizards, I can't talk, would reprint it again because, yeah, it's a fun card. Artifact for 2, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if it is untapped, the creature controller creates a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. This does benefit your opponents. That being said, who cares? I mean, not who cares, but you're going to get more value out of this than they do for the most part. And also, I guess if you're really that concerned about it, don't use it. I mean, I really wouldn't just like include like a bunch of ways to like tap this. Maybe like Clock of Omens, I guess, if you really care about that and you have other artifacts that can untap. I mean, Clock of Omens would probably be good in this deck regardless because you can untap your mana rocks very easily with like treasures, that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I would not be including ways to just like specifically tap this because it's not that big of an advantage for your opponents. It's a massive advantage for you because first up, every single time your commander enters the battlefield again, it kind of makes up for one of its, future commander attacks essentially. Like it's like an investment because every single time your commander comes to play, it's like, okay, make a 1/1 mirror that's an artifact. All right, bye, I'm gonna be sacrificed. Okay, cool, it costs 1 less basically than I would have. Yeah, I mean, any of your creatures coming to play, it can be really easily used and abused, and it's great. Pitiless Plunderer. Yeah, there's probably some infinite synergies with this kind of a commander. 1/4 Human Pirate for 4 mana. Whatever the creature you control dies, you make a treasure. That's very good. That's very crazy. And specifically, it doesn't say non-token creature too, so keep that in mind. Yeah, it's incredibly good. Again, in that same scenario, if you're like getting your commander out, sacrificing your commander, getting your commander back out, sacrificing your commander. At the very least, again, your commander is costing, again, at least 1 less than its commander attacks would each time. So it really helps with that build-up. Ruthless Technomancer, a very good card as well. ETB, you may sacrifice a creature control. If you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power. Yeah, if you got a creature out there with a lot of power, great, do so. If not, sacrifice your commander. Sure, why not? Get 5. That's still a decent amount of treasures, right? Pay 2 and a black, sacrifice X artifacts. Turn target creature card with power X less from your grave or the battlefield. It can't be 0. I mean, there are certain scenarios where it's like, yeah, that works really, really well with, say, again, like a Mirror Battlesphere that can make a lot of artifacts as well, so keep that in mind. Or, again, at a certain point, you might be like, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of artifacts, get that massive thing out of my graveyard, and do a lot with it. Or you've got, like, some triggers that happen whenever you're sacrificing artifacts. Again, like Marionette Master. Could be great. Revel in Riches. Whenever a creature to opponent controls dies, create a treasure token. If you give your upkeep, you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. It can be a potential win condition for you. Again, you're going to have a lot of things probably that can make a lot of treasures. And then also, yeah, you just get a lot of free treasures from your opponent's creatures dying. That's absolutely lovely. Speaking of lovely, Spawning Pit. Wizards reprinted. This card used to be so budget friendly. Sacrifice a creature, get a charge counter on it. Pay 1, remove 2 charge counters from it. Make a 2/2 spawn artifact creature token into play. I could never remember if that was actually an artifact when I was going back through. I was like, oh wait, it is. So a free sacrifice outlet can be great with certain synergies. And also, again, you can actually make artifact tokens out of those. So keep that in mind. Eternity Vessel. This one is spicy. Enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, where X is your life total. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield you control, you may have your life total become the number of charge counters on it. Again, your commander is like, all right, we're going down to life total to draw cards. And you're like, I'm completely fine with that. And then at a certain point, you're like, I'm pretty low. I don't have a life swap synergy, but I have this. My Eternity Vessel has been in play this whole time for whatever reason, and I never played a land, but now I will. So yeah, then go back up to 40 or whatever it was. So that's a good way to reset your life total essentially and be like, oh yeah, it doesn't really matter how much life I'm going to be losing from my commander or anything else. As soon as I need life, I can just get life. And one way you could do that is you can just like save up like literally like an Evolving Wilds if you want to at a certain point. Just be like, okay, I've got this Evolving Wilds in play. I'm not going to crack it until I really need to. Like, if people are trying to take me out, I'll just actually crack it, go back up to 40 or whatever it is. So, yeah, this plus life swaps. And again, it's like 6 mana. So, at a certain point, like later in the game, you can be like, Frank's low. I'm going to chuck my Eternity Vessel at him with my commander and win. And then also probably have lifelink on my commander and gain some life. Repay in kind. On the opposite end of things, this card is really spicy. I wish it was back in my price range, but it's not right now. It's close. Each player's life total becomes the lowest life total among all players. You take everyone down to your level. I love this kind of a card. It's hilarious. It's not a life swap. It's like a life set. Everyone is going to be down to my level. Again, I gained all this card advantage. I drew all these cards. I went down to 5 or whatever it is. You know, everyone else is being very responsible with their life total, right? Everyone else is at 40 or whatever they are. And I'm like, I don't like being the lowest. Let's all go low. All right, everyone down to 5. And then I sacrifice this artifact. I sacrifice that artifact. I sacrifice that one. And you're all gone. Yay. Everyone I mean, not everyone wins. I win. Or also, Platinum Empyrean is also a thing. An 8/8 golem for 8. So again, late in the game, you can just chuck it if you need to. Again, it costs 8. Great. Chuck it at an opponent. That being said, your life total can't change. Oh my goodness. That is a spicy effect that says, hey, you know what's going to happen? I'm just going to stick around here. My commander is going to ETB. I'm not going to lose any life. I'll still draw the cards. I'm not going to lose any life. I'm going to draw cards equal to half the number of artifacts I control. Great. I'll feign death my commander. You know, sacrifice it, bring it back, recast with command zone, draw these cards. A lot of value, no pain. I mean, they say no pain, no gain, right? But that is literally like no pain, lots of gain. There you go. So Platinum Empyrean, a great one as well to consider. Next up, Ugin's Nexus. If a player begins an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. That's nice, just preventing your opponents from getting extra turns. It's just like, hey, you know what? No, don't do that. That being said, why you have this in the deck is if it's been a graveyard from the battlefield, instead exile and take an extra turn for this one. So basically, with your commander, you pay 4 mana or 3 into red, whatever it is. You sacrifice this, you ping someone for 5, and you're like, by the way, I get an extra turn. So yeah, it's a very, very good card when it comes to synergies with commanders that can actually sacrifice it consistently. Then finally, yeah, any of the damage doublers or damage triplers obviously can be really, really good with this commander. An enchantment for 8 mana, City on Fire, 5 red, whatever it is. Convoke. If a source you control deal damage to a permanent player, it deals triple that damage instead. Absurd. So again, you already are going wide with this kind of a commander when it comes to the number of artifacts. Now, mostly that might be treasures, but you still might be going like wide with like servos or, you know, thopters or whatnot. Regardless, use your creatures to get this out very easily, very quickly, and then also say, oh, okay, cool. I chuck my Spine of Ishsaw at that player. Instead of it being 7 damage, which is already a lot, now it's 21 damage. So, yeah, you can take opponents out in absolutely no time once you're set up properly with a commander like this. But yeah, make sure that you check out that card list link in the description below. If you are interested in that commander, and you're not, you know, and your playgroup's not okay with you, like, proxying it, like, even if it's a fake, which I don't believe, again, I'm 99% convinced that, like, almost all these cards are real, essentially. Like, they seem all very legit. Wizards seems like they're panicking and be like, leaks, okay, we can't stop it. So, yeah, ask your playgroup if they're okay with it. You can proxy, you know, and build the deck around it already if you want to. If not, yeah, just maybe bookmark that one and wait till the card actually comes out in spoiler season and be like, okay, it's real, okay, go. There you go. So you have it ready for you. So make sure you check that out. Stay tuned to the channel for more exciting quick takes and spoilers and, yeah, leaks. There's more leaks. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy right now. I don't know if we've ever seen a set like this again. It literally might all be leaked before actual spoiler season starts. And then Wizards is going to be like, no one saw these. Except for when we actually wrote an article about it earlier, and we said that leaks are happening, and then we said that we put the actual card images out, and we didn't put those images out all the time, but yeah, we don't know. Okay. Regardless, thank you for tuning in. After this, after I'm done talking right here, future Mitch, yes, past Mitch, make sure you put the card images for all the cards, okay? Okay. So yeah, I'll be doing that. And maybe this time I'll remember to put like the music up a little bit, because I think last time I forgot. Regardless, of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.